Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, I'm still recovering from pneumonia, but I'm feeling better every single day. My voice is still a little bit off, but at the same time here, we've got a lot of news to cover. And first thing on the docket, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation with RPCS3. And RPCS3 has just dropped version 0.0.35. This is their first release of 2025. Now, it is worth noting that RPCS3 gets updated quite a bit. If you head to their website and take a look at their builds, sometimes it gets updated multiple times per day. We talk about RPCS3 a lot, but the latest main release was version 0.0.34, which was released back in November. So since version 0.0.34, which was released November 1st, there have been a whole bunch of bug fixes, optimizations, improvements, new features, and even more. The development team has been extremely busy. And yes, the latest version here is version 0.0.35, and they do recommend picking it up directly from their website. Now, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you probably are well aware of a lot of these changes for RPCS3. At the same time here, some of these are in regards to save states, some are in regards to PS Move improvements, some are in regards to miscellaneous enhancements, for example, specific Linux items, and some are in regards to trophy overlays and even more. RPCS3 has been pretty big in the spotlight recently, mostly because the developers are doing a lot of work really improving this emulator, and also because of the whole Android scene with, for example, APS3E. Well, there is an official version-ish on GitHub. It hasn't released yet. I don't know when it's going to release, and I wouldn't hold my breath on it. But at the same time here, it does seem that the RPCS3 team is looking at Android. Anyways, here, if you head to the website, it's available for Windows, Linux, and Mac. And there are builds for x64 as well as ARM. However, for Windows here, there is no ARM build listed yet. But moving on, and next up, we're talking about Nintendo 64 emulation with Gopher64. And Gopher64 also got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 1.0.9 is the latest update. This emulator is pretty active, and as for what's changed, there's a bunch of fixes and brand new implementations. There's now transfer pack support. Moving on, and we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with not WinNow, but Winlator. And Winlator has just released version 10.0. In my opinion, this is a pretty big release for Winlator. They've added native glibc for better I/O performance. There's minor improvements to Vortec. They've improved the internal registry editor. They've added an option to open Android browser from Wine, and they've also added an option to use Android clipboard on Wine. Additionally here, if you use an external mouse, they've added an option to capture the pointer. And they've implemented direct rendering on Xserver and Vulkan WSI X11. This person here says, just tested Warcraft 3 on my S25 Ultra, working flawlessly at 100 FPS++, even on custom games, before it was broken on this phone. And as for glibc, it stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and if you wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links will be in the description below right at the bottom. Someone's got a really good write-up here on Reddit explaining exactly what the glibc container does. At a very high level, this person says in theory that means that things should go faster because it's not emulating tracing every system call. In practice, this will likely be most noticeable for games that are heavy users of CPU, file, or network I/O. Next up is just a friendly heads up here if you use MAME on Android. MAME for Droid Current has been updated to bring it in line with the mainline version of MAME to version 0.275. We talked about MAME in a previous video, I think in yesterday's video. Anyways, here it's nice to see that MAME for Droid Current was updated so quickly for Android. Next up, we're talking about one of my favorite Linux distributions, and that's Bazzite. And Bazzite has been sharing some very interesting information about their operating system. So over on the Universal Blue website, there's a post here titled, Just How Many of Us Are There? And there's some very interesting analytics here, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, Bazzite is incredibly popular. I would say that these numbers are very encouraging overall, but taking a look specifically at Bazzite, it's sitting at 26,300 active devices per week. And that is more than every other one combined. And that includes stuff like Silverblue. This to me is very, very impressive, and even more impressive for Bazzite. I mean, Bazzite has been exploding in popularity. Even Marvel Rivals has mentioned Bazzite in their patch notes. And in my opinion here, Bazzite has captured lightning in a bottle with their formula, and I am really hoping it continues to grow. I'm a huge fan of Bazzite. But moving on from that, and next up we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation with Tanuki 3DS. Now, from my understanding, Tanuki 3DS is its own thing. It's not a fork of Citra. And Tanuki 3DS just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 0.2.3 is the latest update for Tanuki 3DS. And with this update, there's a bunch of fixes here, including one that fixes text in Ocarina of Time. Next up, we're talking about limited run games, and there's a very interesting article over on Time Extension, where Time Extension sits down with Josh Fairhurst, the CEO of Limited Run. And here is one of the quotes. "We've certainly made mistakes, and it seems they're trying to win back the trust of the community." Now, I'm not going to go through the article in its entirety. I do recommend checking it out and giving it a good read. Anyways, here it just seems that Limited Run have realized that they've made a ton of mistakes here, and, well, they even explained how they made those mistakes. Were they trying to cut corners? They say they weren't, but at the same time, it kind of seems as if they were. I'm hoping here that they have learned from their mistakes and they're going to try to rectify that and be better moving forward. And continuing to talk about Time Extension, they've got another awesome article on here. Earlier on this week, we talked about Retro Bit and how they were caught for using fan translations in an official cartridge. And it turned out that Retro Bit, I guess, outsourced this work, and whoever was doing it decided to cut corners and use a fan translation. Anyways, here they were caught, and, well, they're trying to rectify the issue. However, and there's a big however, the person who cut corners is, they seem to be digging themselves even deeper. So here's what's being reported. Retrobit's translator denies any wrongdoing in a Spanish forum. His response is a whole pile of horseshit, if I've ever seen one. Cherry picking, deflecting, blaming Retrobit, bad faith arguments, a lot of focus on the fonts, and not the egregious stuff, just baffling. I'm very curious to see what happens about this one moving forward, and if Retrobit steps in and says something. I would argue this is a really, really bad look for Retrobit overall, considering they use this translator. And if they continue to use this translator, that does not say very good things. I mean, this translator doesn't really care. They don't seem to really care about fan translations and all of that. They just seem to want to use those translations to get paid. Anyways, I could be wrong with all of that, but at the same time here, I'm hoping that Retrobit tries to save face and tries to say something about this entire issue. Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments below, but I mean, this person here, in my opinion, has got a shovel and they just keep on digging and digging. And I would say they're dragging Retrobit's reputation down with them. Next up, if you're a fan of Rock Band and you're in the need of a new controller, you're probably really going to like this news. It turns out that Gibson has been involved in creating 2 brand new guitars. And they look, in my opinion, pretty good. So there's a normal version and there's also a pro version. The pro version has mechanical frets and a few other bells and whistles. The normal version is going for about $109, and the Xbox version of this is going for $10 more, $119. The pro version starts at $119, and then the Xbox version of that goes for $129. I'm not certain why there's an Xbox tax here. Anyways, the pro version, I would say, is probably the way to go. Just spend an extra $10 and get some extra goodies here. And on top of that, they're not just compatible with the PS5 and PS4 in Legacy mode. They're also compatible with PC, Android, and also the Nintendo Switch. So the base model of this one is called the Encore model, and then there is the Pro model. The Pro model gets that Hall Effect strum as well with haptic feedback. And that's where I say the extra $10 is probably well worth it overall for that Pro model. And this is worth pointing out, from my understanding here, the Xbox versions of these will not be compatible with PS5 and PS4. They won't get that legacy mode. So if you don't have an Xbox, I'd probably recommend against buying the Xbox versions of these. Next up, we're talking about Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, we talked about Monster Hunter Wilds the other day when it turned out that there was some performance issues. And even in spite of those performance issues, this is one of the most popular games currently on PC. Anyways, it seems that Capcom is trying to make every single cent possible from this game by hiding character editing behind microtransactions. I really, really wish I was joking with you here. When I saw that VGC article, I was thinking there's no way that this is possible. It is possible. This is real. It's on Steam, and this is right on Steam. So it seems you can edit your character for once absolutely free. There's a free trial version of a character edit voucher. And this is not just for you, but this is also for your little companion. And then they have a 3-pack. So a 3-pack voucher will cost you in Canadian dollars about $10, in USD, I think that's about $7, $6 overall. And that is crazy considering that, well, $10 in Canada, or I guess $6 in the States thereabouts, will get you 3 edits, and only 3 edits. So if you screw up or if you change your mind a lot, you're going to have to pay even more money. And that also pertains to your companion. Now you can buy a bundle so you can edit yourself and that little cat thing as well at the same time here. But the bundle is, well, it's a little bit more money. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, this is a little bit scummy. And this is, well, I don't like practices like this at all. Whether you're editing yourself or your Palico, whatever here. At the same time, just locking it behind a paywall like this is absolutely absurd. I mean, I could see people completely scrapping their character and starting a brand new one because they don't want to pay the extra money. Mind you, if you've invested hundreds of hours and then decided to edit your character here, well, you're going to be stuck paying money. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. If I'm out in left field here, if I'm completely off base in my line of thinking that I don't agree with this. Anyways, I'm hoping we don't see this in future games, but it just seems that this will be a trend moving forward. I mean, other companies will probably see this and salivate at the idea of making more money off stuff. Now, taking a look at some of these comments here, and it seems that my opinions aren't so far-fetched. This person says, ridiculous for a $70 game to make changing your character a microtransaction. And this person says, hate that you have to buy these things to change your character and Palico looks. Should be free and unlimited, but I'm not really surprised. It is Capcom after all, and they did this in World 2. We're going to have to wait and see what happens moving forward here, but yeah, this stuff has happened in the past. I mean, Capcom has even had shenanigans with Street Fighter. Anyways, here, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments below, and if you think the path forward for a lot of these companies will be nickel and diming gamers wherever they can. I mean, it already seems like they are. But moving on, talking about something that costs money to something that doesn't. And next up, we're talking about one of my favorite Linux distributions, Linux Mint. And Linux Mint has unveiled something for Cinnamon here that I love the looks of. So first and foremost, they published a whole blog for February of 2025. And within that blog, they talk about Cinnamon here and possibly what Cinnamon's going to look like. This may not be the final version. We're going to have to wait and see if it does change, but this appears to be Cinnamon's new app menu. The app menu is changing, and well, here is the first initial look at it. And I would say I like the looks of this one. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about Twisted Metal. And if you're a fan of Twisted Metal and we're looking forward to a new Twisted Metal game, you may be disappointed with this news. Or maybe not once you read the report. The report is titled, Canceled Twisted Metal Live Service title was a Battle Royal, featuring out-of-vehicle combat in third person. So it turns out the Twisted Metal game in development was called Project Copper. And it was a third-person game, it was Battle Royale, and it was Last Man Standing. And it does seem that Sony pulled the plug on this one, and this wasn't the only game they've ever pulled the plug on recently. It seems that this may have been one of the bigger ones. I could be wrong with that. Anyways, there are some under NDA images as well listed on the website, and I can see why this one was canceled. I have seen some very interesting takes on the matter, though. Some people are saying that Twisted Metal would work very well as a battle royale, provided there was no out-of-car combat. And some people are saying the out-of-car combat would work great, provided you were getting power-ups for your car and stuff. Either way here, it's a very interesting space, and I'm curious to see if PlayStation tries to revive Twisted Metal moving forward, or if this is the end of the series. Next up here, we're quickly talking about Doom, and in previous videos, we've been talking about Doom running on very weird things. And someone here has Doom running on a DWG file for AutoCAD. And this one, this one actually turned out pretty good. It looks a lot better than Doom in Minecraft. It looks better than Doom in file names. This one seems to be running Doom very well. Next up, we're talking about Skype, and it seems that Skype is shutting down. Microsoft is killing Skype in May of this year, so pretty darn soon. Interestingly, Skype has been around for quite a while, since about 2003. It was sold to Microsoft in 2011 for about $8.5 billion and survived under Microsoft's tenure for about 14 years before being killed off. If you still use Skype, this is probably bad news for you. According to Microsoft's website, the next step for Skype users is to use Microsoft Teams instead. They're shutting down Skype on May 5th. They say it right here on their website, and they say move to Microsoft Teams for free. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state, and I'll see you tomorrow.